Good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Hope we're all right. So, I'm sure we're all aware of the devastating volcano currently exploding in Iceland. Such a shame for the people of the local town of Grindavik, who have evacuated again, and it's very looking like the town is gone. Anyway, did you know 80% of the Earth was formed from volcanoes erupting? The word volcano comes from the Roman word Vulcan, who was the god of fire. Approximately 350 million people live within a danger range of an active volcano. That means that around 1 in 20 live in an area at risk of volcano activity. Lava from a volcano can reach 1,250 degrees Celsius. Wow, that's hot enough to melt a thermometer. About 1,900 volcanoes on Earth are considered active and likely to explode again. Most of the world's active volcanoes are found in what's called the Ring of Fire, a 40,000-kilometre horseshoe-shaped area of the Pacific Ocean. And maleo birds bury their eggs in the sand or soil near volcanoes to keep them warm. When the chicks hatch, they claw their way up to the surface. Can you imagine how hot that is? I'm just going to mute some people because I've got a little bit of background noise. There, that's better. Right, so good morning again. This morning we're joined by Kim Searle from Emotional Mastery Limited, where she is a coach specialising in supporting the finance profession. Kim has spoken on previous coffee mornings and is a regular content contributor on mindfulness and mental health. Today she will be talking about how to be stress self-aware and some tactics to manage it. Good morning, Kim.
Morning, thank you very much. And welcome everybody, Happy New Year indeed. And I know it's a really busy time of year, isn't it, for everybody within the finance community. Years ago, I used to work in Motorola in an accounts payable role, managing expenses, all the payables and intercompanies. And it was a very stressful time at Christmas and various other times of the year, without having any personal issues in the way. And I actually had a problem going on in my personal life that was beginning to cause me to feel really stressed. Like many of you here, I lived in my head. I still do. Everything comes from the way I think and what I've learned, But what I was ignoring was the body-mind connection, and consequently stress I was ignoring. But it was being demonstrated and coming out to play in so many different ways, including drinking lots of tea and coffee, usually about 6 mugs by lunchtime, being a bit short-tempered, not sleeping at night because I had too many thoughts going on. Remember this, don't forget that. And oh gosh, have you looked at? I am sure many of you on this call can identify with the overthinking, the over-analysing, and the concern about how much to do with so little time. Here's the thing, and interestingly ties quite nicely into the conversation at the beginning around New Year's resolutions. The reason we get stressed is because of old habits. I'm not going to talk to you about habits today. Maybe I can be invited back to talk about those again. Or alternatively, check out some of my masterclasses where I talk habits. I've got one coming up tomorrow. But it is habits. And when you're in the thick of it, you do not have time to make the changes. So what I wanted to cover today was some really simple techniques that you can employ today to help you through when things are just feeling out of control for you. You're overwhelmed. There's so much to do. Deadlines looming everywhere. I get it. I used to have exactly the same problem. You know, you've got to get things done. And I had a fear of getting it wrong, being told off, fear of, being seen as an idiot. What all raft of different fears come up, which just make things worse. So one of the first things I want you to think about when you are in the middle of a stressful cycle is just work my way through to the next slide, beg your pardon, is to pause. Now, you're going to get a little resistant to some of my suggestions, or you may get resistant, you may not, But it will be things like, I haven't got time for that. I've got to get things done. What's the point of that? The point of pausing is your brain is overwhelmed, not just you, but your brain has got too much going on. One of the things about today's society is we don't give ourselves time to process what's going on. And getting it out of your head is a really good start to allowing your brain to do what it does, to have a bit of a rest. Because despite what many people may realize or may not, is that your thoughts are electrochemical in nature. They are an energy. And when you're expending lots of energy from the brain, there's lots of activity, you can still get really tired. So it can be in your interests to pause and give yourself, some downtime. We're not talking hours here, but, it's just some time to get out of your head. Go make a cup of coffee. Go for a walk around the block. Something that does not require thought will allow your brain to process all the things that are going on. Another really good way of getting out of your head is to get everything out of your head and onto paper. Some of you may already do this, but in our electrical world, most of us try to put everything down into our PCs and computers, etc. But a good piece of analog paper can really help get you to see everything all at once, and you can start to process what's going on in your head onto the paper and have an objective view. I know that sounds crazy, but many of you will understand. You may be list builders. Lists are great. How
Hello?
often you just
Hello?
sorry.
Hello.
Yeah, so and how many of you are list builders and
about
love
that,
your
Kim.
lists? Then continue to use them. Use that as your pause over a cup of coffee so that you can do it reflectively. It's really important, because what happens if you don't get them out of your head is you go to bed at night and you'll have those thoughts whirling around. So you wake up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock. Oh, must remember. Oh my God, I've got all that work to do. It'll disrupt your sleep. And what does that do? Causes the next day to be a problem. So pausing in whatever way works for you to get out of your head, and definitely download what's in your head before you go to bed at night, then you are ready for the next day in a better way. The second way I recommend to help with the whole stress levels is breathing. I know, crazy. Something we do all the time, isn't it? What do you mean breathe? I breathe all the time. Yeah, you do. But do you pay attention to it ever? Years ago, I went to a Buddhist meditation group, and they only ever did 2. And I thought, I'm not going to last. This is going to bore me. I'm going to get fed up. But boy, sticking with it and doing something different really helped. Because one of the routines they did was mindfulness of breathing. And just as I'm talking, what I want you to do is slow your breathing down and take nice deep breaths, so that what you're doing is you're beginning to hijack the body mind. Because what happens when you're stressed is you get tense and you start to breathe from the top of your lungs. And that just exacerbates it, because the body's like, there's something to worry about. We need to do more. And you will be firing off all sorts of chemical cocktails in your body you really do not need, even in the short term. If you can learn to control your breathing when you are at your worst moment in stress, and I'm not claiming it will be easy, but it is simple, just stop and pause and breathe. You're sending a message back to your body that all is well, because it picks its information up, not just from your thoughts. So you're creating the body to go into a state of fight or flight, but also from the external environment and from the breath. It's the number one way of tapping into telling your body it's okay, just calm down. What I have shared here with team IAB is the art of relaxation. It's the one that I recorded when I was training originally to be a hypnotherapist, to help people start to settle. Great for going to bed with. Because here's the other thing that's really important, certainly where time management can come in as well, is if you can go to sleep at night thinking of how successful the next day is, how in control you are, i.e. relaxed, with this breathing, what you can find is you can wake up in a better state of mind too, finding that actually your workload can be done much easier than you ever thought possible. So breathing is really important. The next one is take a break. Now, this is slightly different to pausing. This is doing something completely different. It could be going for the walk again. It could be popping out to the shops for whatever. It could be perhaps doing some exercise. Whatever it is, whatever you do needs to be something with very little thought attached to it. Something that you've done all the time. It's habitual, it's routine, the washing up. I don't mind, whatever it works for you. But if you do something completely different, and this is where exercise will be something that most people will default to, what happens is that you then are giving your brain a break, C point 1. You will also be doing something different with your breathing because you'll be more aware of it, C point 2. But doing something different allows your brain to process. Have you ever had a problem that you've not been able to resolve and you've walked away from it? And when you've come back, it's like, oh, I see it now. It's completely clear. This is what you're doing. You're creating space for your brain to do what it does best, is resolve problems. So if you're not sure how you're going to get everything done, taking a break can really help. Sorry, I'm running out of time here. The last one is more when you're outside the other side, because I don't expect you to do this in the middle of a stressful period. But I want you to review what caused the stress and prepare how you can do it differently next time. And make sure that you are creating regular breaks, even in your busy time. So plan around making sure you've got regular breaks to pause. Make sure you're doing some sort of breathing routine. You'll thank yourself, your future self will thank you for doing it now, because breathing is one of the most common factors with people having other problems going on. And taking a break, you deserve this. You work hard at what you do. You are good at what you do. You deserve to do something that's more for you. And then when you find out the things that are triggering you, then you can start to work on those. But that is for afterwards. Some very simple suggestions. They are not necessarily easy, because you'll be thinking, I haven't got time for that. I can't see how that will help me. La, 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 la. What we're doing here is working on a different level than just the cognitive, because the cognitive side is likely causing you the most pressure that you're under. Most of it you would know that you could do much easier if you gave yourself time. So over to you. Any questions at all that I can answer?
Thank you, Kim. Just from the chat, Ian says, I would say that mind maps are good.
Mind maps are brilliant, aren't they? Particularly if you're big pictured like I am, you can see everything. So yes, I love a mind map. Good call.
And then Sam's put in a guided meditation from Kim on the art of relaxation. So I'm just going to read this out. So it's dropbox.com/s/UBR5D960U9 WBWD0/%20% relaxation.way?DL. That's for anybody listening on the video. That's about
alternatively. Just drop me an email and I'll forward it to you.
Yeah, we will share them in the newsletter and on our website as well of the recording, so you can access it from there too. But if you wanted to just copy it from the chat, then that's
yeah.
Maria said I use meditation quite a bit and it's really helpful. Thank you,
Yeah.
so needed and pertinent at the moment. That was great, very important. We keep forgetting about ourselves. With the breathing deeper, is that why I used to feel more relaxed after a cigarette? Yes, probably, Ian. That and the nicotine rush to the brain as an ex-smoker, I would say.
Yeah, it's a false positive, if that's right, in terms of what it does for you. I don't know all these statistics behind it, but it's creating the break that's
Yeah.
doing it for you.
Can I just say I bought a timer? You can't see it very well. You can see it if I put it right in front of my face. And different sides has got different times on it. So if you're doing a task and you think in 30 minutes I'll have a break, you put it down so it says there's 30 up. But I mean, you can set a timer on your phone just to add to that taking a break and not just getting to work and sitting there for 8 hours.
It might also help, and it's not something I cover here, but I'm as a former project manager in my past life, we always underestimate how long something will take.
Yeah.
So it might be a good sort of indicator of where you've overcommitted what you're going to do and uncommitted the time.
Yeah, for that day. Kevin says, excellent. The point about getting it down on paper is something I've always done and really does work. Downloading the brain is an excellent description. Jennifer uses a whiteboard in her office to brain dump that it's not out of sight when I need to action something. Yeah, lists are good. Exercise, Xbox. Yes.
Yeah, I've just read that one. It's
Yeah.
Charles Shatul Mohammed. I think it's a great way just to check out and clear your head. I think it's
Yeah.
great. And you do
Feel
feel better when
confident.
you come back. I think you can get so it's almost micro focused that you forget anything else that's going on around. So
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much, Kim. I'm going
thank you. I
move on
appreciate
at
your
that
time.
because we've gone over a little bit. But yeah, thank you very much. Nice to see you. And next we are going to go to Joshua, who I believe is here somewhere.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello, Joshua. And Joshua is the co-founder of OSINT. Is that right?
OSINT.
Group?
Everyone says it differently, but OSINT.
OSINT. And this morning he's going to talk about demonstrating the ease in which hackers can identify sensitive data about anyone online. So we potentially will need some of Kim's stress-free after this, but members will gain a better understanding of the growing cyber threats we now face. Good morning, Joshua. Are you well?
Yes, very good. Thanks. I will share my screen.
It should let you. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my PowerPoint now?
Yes, certainly can.
Okay. So yeah, thank you. Good morning. So yeah, you already gave a good introduction. So we'll get straight into it. I know it's limited time as well today. Got my fancy animations. So as a quick agenda for what we'll go through today, I'll quickly introduce what OSINT and open source intelligence is and some of the latest cyber threats that we face. We'll then go through a quick demonstration because Sergey, I hope I pronounced that right, has allowed me to do a demonstration with his information showing what I can find, and you'll see quickly through what's available out there, why this is relevant to yourselves as well. And finally, some recommendations for bolstering your cybersecurity. There'll be a lot more quick general tips that everyone can take away from this. So firstly, what actually is open source intelligence? You see that it generally involves identifying data from public sources, and this can be anything that you see on here. It may be social media, including mainstream sites like Twitter and Facebook, also alternative sites. Lots of people are going to more, free speech kind of platforms now. You have instant messengers like Discord and Telegram, WhatsApp, and things like that. We have, forums, but then also a very big source of public data is public records. And these will depend on the different countries, but we often find court records, criminal records, and, that is all public sometimes, depending on the country. It doesn't mean that you have to be part of law enforcement. You can just see those. You have birth records, as we'll show in the demonstration, marriage records, properties, newspapers. It could be books within libraries, anything that is a public source available to anyone that is kind of encompassed in OSINT. As long as you don't have to have special access like law enforcement databases, then it's kind of fair game to use in OSINT. And then the whole point is that you take that data that you find and you make conclusions based on that to turn it from information into actual intelligence that you can use to serve a purpose. For most people, hopefully that's a good purpose, like accomplishing something with your business or solving crimes. But many people, like hackers, will use that open source information for bad and nefarious purposes, like maybe scamming you out of money, hacking your accounts, and things like that. Sorry. And yeah, multimedia is another one that we'll often use. Things like imagery, videos, audio files, even just normal files like this very PowerPoint. They can all contain data that you may not be aware of. Very quickly, one thing that I just thought of, which I always like to give as an example, is with PowerPoints, they're often given out, they're posted online. And people don't realize that images, if you have cropped them, they can be uncropped. So if you give out PowerPoints and you've cropped images and you've gotten rid of personal information from the sides of the images, people can just uncrop those images and still find that data. So there's always stuff that will be unknown to you that you may be just throwing out there and people can misuse it. So hopefully you'll see through the demonstration how some of that data that's available out there can be misused. So some very quick examples of the cyber threats we face today. Things like account breaches. This is definitely nothing new. This has been going on for so long because websites will get hacked every single day. Sometimes it's very large websites, sometimes very small niche ones. But when they get hacked, you'll often find that every user on that website, their emails, usernames, passwords, and such data will be leaked online. So you'll often find that your very passwords, your actual password that you use to log into things, will be available online for anyone to see. And that's all a hacker has to do. Wait for that website to be hacked, find your password, and then use it. And as lots of people use the same password on various websites, they will basically be able to log into every one of your accounts unless you're using extra security features. We then have things like deepfakes. We're hearing a lot more about those in the news and things now, where people can basically use your face, your voice, and make you say and do anything they want. So that is often used in, blackmail videos or just to convince you into their scams. Maybe they've made a video of a family member and they're using that as the scam to convince you to pay them money or things like that. Identity theft, again, the information that's available out there, there's so much of it that they can often use that to steal your identity. We recently found a website that was accidentally leaking people's information straight into the search engine results. So anyone just on a search engine like Google, they could see a result with people's personal information. And that wasn't just an email. Those results included things like names, dates of birth, even passport numbers, home address, telephone number, email address. So that is more than enough to potentially steal someone's identity, and it was at no fault of their own. So sometimes it's not really in your control, and companies will just be accidentally leaking your data. And finally, scamming. So using all of these previous things that I've just mentioned, scammers are getting a lot more advanced. Things like using data breaches. So if they can find your password online, you may get an email showing your actual password. Like the hacker will say, we know this is your password. And then they'll throw in a bunch of meaningless threats. And because you see your actual password in that email, lots of people get worried and believe that their threats are real, and they pay them money to make them go away. But of course, they don't go away. And those threats very often aren't real. That they'll claim to have, things about you, which they actually don't. They've just found your password online. And if you don't know about data breaches, you'll put a lot more weight on that email than it's really worth. Okay. So into the fun part. This is a footprint demonstration on Sujay, where he has allowed us to basically find some information about him and show that here so that you're aware of the kinds of things that can be found online, the kinds of records that are available. And I will try to outline through it some of the general threats that people can kind of pose with that data. So firstly, starting with LinkedIn. This is something that we very often start with in our searches because it's so simple to find. People will have, the company they work for on here. So all it takes is searching their name and that company, and you find it straight away. So now already we would have an image of that individual. We can do face recognition searches on them, which I'll show further on in the demonstration. We have a location here of Leicester, contact information I'll show next slide has some things in there. People very often overshare, data. It's kind of the point of LinkedIn, but it doesn't mean it's good, where they have their whole work experience. But actually, now that we know all of your previous companies that you've worked for, we can find your previous corporate emails. And while the company may have deleted your old corporate emails, they won't have gone through and deleted every account you've ever signed up through those corporate emails. So we can often find accounts associated with your old emails, and they could still have data on that you've totally forgotten about. Or they could become targets for us to hack them, not us, but for hackers to hack them using the passwords from data breaches, and they could impersonate you using your old accounts. Let's see. So if we go here, this is some of the work experience. So we could go through these different kind of companies, potentially looking for old corporate emails, or even just searching, that individual's name and the companies to find old articles of them, things like that. And under the contact information, this actually included personal email address, a Gmail address. And obviously you can see these boxes, I've added the redactions, but obviously they are there fully for me to see, and I can use that email to do extra searches with. We also have a full birthday here with the number and the month, the day and the month. Next, we have birth records. So this is England and Wales birth records, and these records span from the 1800s to 2006. So if you were born in England or Wales before 2006, you will likely be in this database. And this is free for absolutely anyone in the world to search on. And we will now get a middle name here. And again, this was all unredacted in reality. We get a middle name, we get a birth year. So now if we mix this birth year with the birthday on LinkedIn, we now have a full birthday. We have the birth location that also matches with LinkedIn. And if you go one step further, we can also even see things like a mother's maiden name. And that's the most concerning, because lots of people use their mother's maiden name as security questions on things like PayPal. So, if you use that as a security question on PayPal, that's a very bad idea, because you can literally find it in one single search. Or some people will use things like a grandparent's maiden name, but that's just as easy to find in these birth records, because all you would have to do is search for that parent's birth record and it would show mother's maiden name, and that would be their grandmother's, basically. So we have all that information, and it's free for anyone to search. And if they were to answer your security question, they may be able to now change your PayPal password and log in and steal money, anything like that. Or you can actually use this data to find even more information. In this case, it's the same surname, so it may not help as much. But if you have a surname and a different mother's maiden name, which are both quite unique, you can actually enter those into these birth records, and within 2 searches, you would be given the brothers and sisters, anyone else in that family network. And
Can I just say, Josh, a few years ago, your mother's maiden name was a standard. It was just a standard security question.
yeah,
And
exactly.
it still is with my bank. My bank still asks me my mother's maiden name whenever they phone me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's insane because it's so widely used by people, but it's so easy to find for free by anyone in the world. So it's a very bad question to be using. And yeah, I don't show it here, but there are marriage records as well, where well, not for this example, but generally there is also England and Wales marriage records where you can also search a surname and a mother's maiden name, and that would usually find you records of a individual's parents. So, 3 searches through these records and you already have their entire close family network. Okay, so next, Companies House. Lots of people here will be somewhere on Companies House. This will also often give a middle name. We have, again, date of birth. And although Companies House does not give a full date of birth, just the month and year, if you have a long history on Companies House and you were associated with companies roughly around 2009 and before, you're likely in the filing history of companies. And in those old company documents, still listed in the filing history, your full date of birth is usually shown. So people can still find your full date of birth through old Companies House records. And same thing with signatures. If you signed a document and that was scanned in as an old document on Companies House, someone can see your handwritten signature and they could easily just copy that, screenshot it, and paste it onto any contract they want. And they could then impersonate you, saying that you have signed this contract, you have to honor it or something. And then that could get into so much legal troubles and things like that. Next, we have Instagram. So Instagram, this is a usual kind of social media that we find. In this case, it was quite simple to find because I believe Sergey was using some of the same usernames across various websites, or at least similar usernames. So it makes it easier to find. And we have resources where we can just search a username and it will search across hundreds of websites for that same username. So we can find lots of them in a very quick span of time. Also, this one is quite good because it's private, so we can't see much. But whether hackers, depending on how motivated they are, they may create fake accounts pretending to be someone in his network and then request a follow, for example. Have pictures again, using for face recognition or reverse image searching to find extra things. There's just so many different avenues you can go when you find a new piece of data. If this wasn't private, something we would often do is look through the following and followers list and search for surnames to find accounts of family members. Often an individual research may have a very low digital footprint, but then we find their family members' accounts and it's full of pictures, including the original individual. So Facebook, similar, this one here is not really showing us much. There's no friends list showing, which is really good, because if that is showing, once again, we search the surname, find family members. They very often overshare lots of details. We cannot see any photos here except the profile picture. That's also very good. Lots of people think that, they say they're not on Facebook or something, but actually they still have an old Facebook account. And we find so many, hundreds of pictures of their old parties and videos of them doing crazy things that they do not want to be on the internet anymore, but they completely forgot was even there. Not the case with this one. Usually we can also find things like Facebook Marketplace. So you can't see it anywhere here, but there's a specific way you can find that. So when people know how to do that, we can see everything that you're currently selling on Facebook Marketplace. Because some people only use Facebook for that. So people may come here and think, oh, there's nothing here. But looking on Facebook Marketplace, there could be 10 things being sold. And that could give away locations. It gives a reason to contact them saying, oh, I want to buy this. You know, what's your address? I'll come and collect it, things like that. It gives that opportunity for them to social engineer, get personal data, you know, introduce real world threats, basically. And even if it's things which have previously been sold, even if they were sold years ago, we can see a full history of everything a Facebook account has ever sold, and the prices, pictures of them. People will often take a picture of the item they're selling, and that could be within their house. And then in the background, we may see more details that they do not really want to be there, but people don't realize what's in the background of photos sometimes until it's too late. And as you'll see later in the slides, Facebook actually had, it wasn't a data breach, but basically someone misused one of the features of Facebook to scrape lots of accounts and the phone numbers. So there's actually a data set of over 500 million Facebook accounts and the corresponding phone numbers. So when you have that data set, or for the hackers who do, it's even available on many websites, we could search the Facebook ID of this account and find Sergey's phone number. Or on the flip side of that, if we only had a phone number, you could search that and find this Facebook account. You know, so using data like that as well, that helped us go from just a Facebook account to now having a phone number that we can do so many more things with. Twitter, again, you know, there wasn't any tweets, I don't believe, on this, or maybe just one, but we have another picture here. We can see that they joined December 2022, 2 followers, 21 following. Nothing much to really say here. Again, it's just finding more and more social media. The more interesting thing was that also in a data breach, when I searched for Sergey's email address, it actually showed an old username for Twitter, which had now been deleted or changed. And while it's deleted, you can't really go to that profile and see anything. It was actually archived. There's a website called the Wayback Machine, and that has lots and lots of web archives. And that Twitter profile was archived. There was nothing interesting there, so I haven't included it here. There was, you know, nothing to really comment on, but it's just very interesting.
Can I just ask, can somebody reinstate that Twitter account then?
I don't believe so, no.
No.
I don't think people can claim the usernames if they've been deleted, but even if they can, it would, you know, it wouldn't be the same exact account. I'm not too sure, but
no, Kieran's put in the chat that they can't.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. But yeah, so even though it's deleted now, I could still see a full copy of what that account used to look like. And you know, you can often see that where even if you've posted a tweet that you shouldn't have, or you just now wanted to delete them, there's, well, I don't want to wrongly say a number here, but I believe millions, or there's a lot of tweets archived on the Wayback Machine. So if there's ever a time where you see someone has replied, but when you go to the original tweet, it says it's been deleted, the Wayback Machine will very often have it, and we can still see everyone's tweets even after they're deleted. Okay. So this one, quite interesting. This is just one of the resources that we use sometimes for searching email addresses. So this is after we found the email address on LinkedIn. I could search that, and seconds after just clicking one button, after entering the email, it shows me all of these different profiles. So I can see that there's a Fitbit account connected to that email address. It gives me the ID of the account, the name. any profile picture that there may be, and I can click up here on the profile link to actually go and visit that profile and see any data that may be on it. It'll often do the same as well. You can see down here, whole here is just the name of a tool where it doesn't give me the actual profile details, but it still shows that Sujay's email is on these websites. So there seems to be a Pinterest account that exists with that email. Same with Deliveroo, Nike, and all of these. And this one here is Strava. So now that I know that exists, I would go to Strava, type the same name, and often find a Strava account. And very often on Strava, we find people actually giving away live geolocation data showing where they do runs and cycling and swimming, things like that. And it will be a map showing the actual locations, sometimes leading back to their house, or even if we just don't know where they generally are, that would be a good way to leak their location, basically. So it's very important to keep things like Strava private as well. Then others like Nike Run Club, Foursquare, we could go to that profile and see any photos or reviews which may have been posted there. Trello, lots of people use that for their businesses. If you've posted anything on Trello, we can find your profile through just typing your email and see anything you've posted there publicly. So it's very important to check your settings to make sure that anything private for your business is actually private and not public on your profile. Don't rely on the fact that you haven't given your profile URL to someone, because it's easily findable. And it connects back to that LinkedIn profile that we originally found. Example here of the data breaches. So this is from MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal, if anyone has signed up on there, it's been hacked. And every user who was signed up on there at that time, their details were leaked. So that is the email that I searched in this case. And it now gave me the username on the account, the IP address from the computer at the time they signed up, and hashed password. This is what lots of websites do as a security feature, but actually it didn't really matter because it's an unsecure hash. These ones have been, they're just not secure anymore. So even though it's kind of an encrypted version of the password, we can still find out what the real password was. So again, it's all redacted, but this password hash has been found to be the real password at the end. So we now have the password that was used to log into MyFitnessPal. And if that same password is used on other websites, we could use it to sign into any of them as well. That's why it's so important to use different ones. This is the Facebook one that I mentioned. Actually, it's not. This isn't the Facebook one, but this is a different data breach, basically, that shows a name, email address, and the full phone number. But there was the Facebook one as well, which also showed a full phone number. And then I could basically add that phone number to my phone's contacts book, go to WhatsApp, and I saw that there was a WhatsApp profile picture matching the ones that I've seen on the other social media accounts. So I know that this is still the live active number being used. Okay, this one here is Google reviews. Because from LinkedIn, I had the Gmail address. Gmail is connected to Google, and people often leave Google reviews like this. So this can give away a lot of information to hackers about the companies that you use, the locations you frequent, and things like that. So you see here, we have some reviews from years ago, but also there was even a review just 4 days ago from when I was doing this. And so now a hacker or a scammer, anyone, could use this knowledge to, launch social engineering attacks, saying that, they know that you go to a certain gym. So you could send an email acting as if you are that gym, saying, we appreciate you using our gym. Here's a discount code for next month if you still want to come back. And then when they download the PDF voucher, that's actually malware and now you have an infected computer. So people can use things like this to create much more convincing scams rather than just trying to be Amazon or something like that. So, it's nice leaving reviews for companies, but it's also not a very good idea. Security and privacy wise, it's better not to really leave reviews. So facial recognition, all we did here is take one image and then it brought back all of these other images. People are often very familiar with reverse image searching. You can just do that on Google and things like that. That's more searching for the same image of, it would search like this exact image for other instances. But tools like this are just specifically using face recognition technology to find any image on the internet of that particular face. So, we've before found someone from a video. They were in a video walking past the camera for 2 seconds. We paused it, searched their face, and found out who they were just by using tools like this. So clicking on one of those, I found this account, and this is something I never would have found otherwise because it only uses a first name. So if you think just searching that name on Google, for example, there would be millions of results. It would be impossible to find. But because the same kind of profile pictures are being used, it was possible to find that straight away through facial recognition. And now that may have extra details that we can look into and use those. This is a very quick example that I wanted to include just to show you the power that we currently have with AI. Because again, it's often talked about on the news, but it's insane to know how far the technology has already come. So this is a video from IAB. It's a podcast showing, Sarah Palmer. And I'm going to play the audio. Hopefully the audio will work and you can hear it. It will just play for a little while. So have a listen to this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think the size of the problem is recognised either. So there is between 35 and 40% of people offering financial services to the general public who are unsupervised in any way, shape or form.
Okay, so that was the video of, basically an audio sample. I saved that audio sample, uploaded it to a voice cloning website, which is completely free and available to anybody, and created this. So it let me clone the voice and type in any message I wanted. So I typed in, "Hi Josh, this is Sarah. I was just wondering if you had a chance to send the details over yet. Oh, you didn't hear? I need all the details within the next hour. Send it to Adam. His email is adam@hotmail.com." And listen to how closely similar this voice sounds.
Hi Josh, this is Sarah. I was just wondering if you had a chance to send the details over yet. Oh, you didn't hear? I need all the details within the next hour. Send it to Adam. His email is adam@hotmail.com.
That, hopefully you could hear that well, but that sounds, the exact same.
Could be Sarah, couldn't it?
Exactly. And so you imagine getting a phone call, and because how easy I showed it was to find phone numbers, for example, people can also spoof phone numbers. So, in theory, I could phone you with Sarah's phone number. Sarah's name would even come up on your phone if you have her in your contacts book. And then I could play an audio clip like that with her voice, and you would believe it. And then, we heard examples of this recently where people have paid over hundreds of thousands of euros because they received a call from their boss, and it was clearly their boss's voice. And they told them to transfer money to one of their suppliers, and they blindly sent over hundreds of thousands of euros just because their boss told them to, but actually it was a hacker on the other side of the world who has nothing to do with them. And they sent it to a different account, and then the hackers transferred that money out, and I don't believe that money was ever found. So it's very dangerous and insane.
You've just sent everybody's stress levels through the roof.
Yeah. I know there's not much time left, so I'm going to
We are running out, I'm afraid, Josh.
Yeah, okay. But I'll rattle through just the quick tips and tricks. I won't go through all the information, but I would recommend getting a password manager. This one here is Bitwarden. It's what I personally recommend. It's free. You can store your passwords there. It will help you to just go and use 50-character long secure passwords, different password on every single website. So even if it gets hacked, it doesn't matter. All of that. You'll have the recording. You can read the information on the slide. Using a VPN, that will help you mask your IP address so that it doesn't appear in data breaches and such things. And avoid social engineering. Again, you can have a read of these, but you can see how closely the voice cloning was. So don't trust things like the voices anymore. Have policies in place to verify things before you do big actions like transferring money. Verify everything before you act on anything. But yeah, again, you can read through these, and if anyone has any questions, please feel free. The last thing I needed to quickly mention is for our company services, we do have reduced rates for IAB members. So if you are interested in any of those, feel free to contact the IAB marketing team and they will give you more information on that. Thank you.
I've got a couple of questions come through. Ian says his wife is from America. Is her maiden name still searchable?
If she was born in America, she wouldn't be in that particular database that I was showing, but it might still be on American resources. America has way more resources than the UK for people searching, so it very well is likely on the web. It's on the internet somewhere, very likely.
Isabel says, can you remove all data from Company's House? Can she do it, or does she need to contact you to do it?
Company's House, it's an interesting one. If we can do it, you can probably request it yourself, but it's hard because it's like a public record. Sometimes they won't remove it. But you could ask for it to be redacted and see what they say. We get mixed results with that. It depends on the company and the type of records and things like that.
Lou says, how secure is Apple Password Generator?
I'm not very familiar with that, so I wouldn't say anything on that. But if you mean like Password Manager, generally it's not as wise to use like the browser kind of autofills because there's lots of malware created to go after the browser autofills. But I know that iOS and Apple is a lot more secure. So I don't know. I wouldn't like to really comment as I'm not as familiar with it, but yeah.
Yeah. And then my last question is going to be, do you still need antivirus software when you update to Windows 11, even though Microsoft has got antivirus software built in it?
Ultimately, it's kind of your choice. There's other providers of antivirus software which, might be better. You can look into those, but it depends because Microsoft's team will also be looking for new threats to add to their database. All antivirus software basically is a database full of threats that they can look for in the files that you download. So you can just use whoever you trust the most. But the Windows one is good. It's up to how how much you want to kind of take it on. But yeah, malware is a very serious threat, so it's worth doing your research into.
And on that, I'm going to say thank you very much, Josh. And I'm really sorry because I could talk to you for at least another hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to move on. Sorry, and thank you very much. And I'm sure we will invite you back in the future. Will we, Sam?
Absolutely, yeah. There'll be content from both Kim and from Josh in the future, so do look out for it. Obviously, the content that they have presented today will be on the website and in the newsletter, but there'll be stuff coming in the future as well, so look out for that.
Quickly to you for HMRC updates, I believe, Sam.
Yeah, it's just a very not major update, just letting you know what's going on. Yeah, sadly Sarah can't be with us today, and Kerry's on holiday, but we've got some partners over from Jordan and some local Chamber of Commerces as well. So she's tied up with that. But she just wanted to let you all know that she's attending the annual stakeholders conference next week, where she's been invited to take part in a number of workshops. So the workshops that she's taking part in are how can better intermediation help reduce the tax gap, how a considered approach to generative AI will help deliver HMRC's priorities, and compliance throughout the tax system from awareness to intervention. So I will send those out again, but if any of you have any comments on those topics that you want to send in, then please send them to the marketing email address, or any other HMRC questions or queries, because Sarah does take those forward when she attends certain events or roundtables or in this situation conferences.
And finally, awards. Yep, that
Yep.
time of year again. So
Indeed.
I
Kicked off
know
well.
some. Pardon?
It's kicked off very well. We've had an awful lot of entries already, actually. So
Good.
thank you for those who've taken time to enter so far. There's quite a lot of new categories as well. So do take time to go on the website and have a look at the different categories, because yeah, we've spiced them up a bit this year.
Good. And can I just say, for the people that struggle to put themselves forward, if you just email your clients with a link and then see if your clients, because I'm sure your clients feel like you are worthy winners, and therefore will click on the link and spend a couple of minutes just filling it in and sending it off. And when is it this year? 20th of June, isn't it, this year?
20th of June, yes. Back in the Commons this year, so it's a slightly bigger event and longer as well. So last year was quite quick, a bit of a 2.5 hour, but we've got a 4 hour event this year. So lots of celebrating to be done during those 4 hours.
Unfortunately, I won't be there, but I'm sure you'll have a lovely time.
You missed Caroline.
So I'm flying on that day, unfortunately.
Oh,
So yeah, I'll be above you.
waving down.
I'll be above you in the plane. Yep, right. And the next coffee morning is Wednesday, the 21st of February at 11 o'clock. And thank you very much, everybody, for attending. And thank you to Kim and Joshua, both very interesting. Thank you, Sam and Sujay, and I'll see you all next month.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Caroline.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you for coming.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.